But when I moved back here in 2016, and I actually started working at the Arkansas Repertory Theater. And my old high school theater teacher was working with me, and she was like, "Hey, I've been following you throughout your college years. Like, I know that you started doing pottery. Have you heard about the art center?" I was like, "No, what is that?" And so I went there the next day. I signed up for a class, which wasn't even at that time, my class wasn't even going on. And I walked into the studio during her name's Kelly Edwards. I walked into her class and I wasn't gonna leave. Like I was
Hi, welcome back to Sustaining Craft, the podcast all about those who make some or all of their income from their art or craft. I'm your host, Elizabeth Silverstein, and we're doing a special season at the moment on how creatives have been impacted by the pandemic. 2 weeks ago, we had on Hannah Genevieve Lawrence of Strands Textile, and this week it's Chris Swasta of Rolling Hills Pottery, who is supposed to be exhibiting with Hannah on April 3rd. We're actually recording on that day. It's Friday, April 3rd, and I have Chris with me. Hi, Chris, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Chris, can you explain what you do?
Pretty simple, but not really. But I do pottery. I make handmade, functional, integrative ceramics at the art center.
Okay. And that's the Arkansas Art Center located in Little Rock?
Yes.
And are you from Little Rock?
I am from North Little Rock.
How long have you been making pottery?
I don't know. Maybe 4.5 years, 5 years. Well, it's been longer than that. Like, I've always done it. Like, I've taken art classes in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But before I really started doing it professionally, I was really into drawing and photography, which I guess if you look at my Instagram, like, that's mainly based on my following is what I used to do. And then I deleted everything and started doing pottery. But that feeling of a fresh start it feels good. So yeah, that's kind of how I started. And where I started was up in Nebraska, where I went to college. But unfortunately, they, before I started there, they did not have the program in like over 15 years. And they started it my last year there.
What did you major in? And what?
Just majored in art, not fine art, but art. And then I went to McCook Community College in Nebraska. Right now, I'm teaching at the art center. I'm teaching ages 10 to 18, sort of like an after-school program. And I'm a work study, if that counts.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the ceramics department there. So when I moved back here in 2016, and I actually started working at the Arkansas Repertory Theater. And my old high school theater teacher was working with me, and she was like, "Hey, I've been following you throughout your college years. Like, I know that you started doing pottery. Have you heard about the art center?" I was like, "No, what is that?" And so I went there the next day. I signed up for a class, which wasn't even at that time, my class wasn't even going on. And I walked into the studio during her name's Kelly Edwards. I walked into her class and I wasn't going to leave. Like, I was going to make something before I left. So yeah, that's how it started at the art center, and I've been there ever since.
And what year was that?
2016.
Okay.
Late 2016.
What captured you about focusing on pottery? Because I know you said you dabble in some other things like drawing and photography. What is it about pottery that kept you going?
I got bored with everything else. And then there's just this aspect of pottery that they don't have. Like, you can actually hold it, you can actually use it, you can actually feel it with your hands instead of looking at it with your eyes. I mean, to me, that's kind of boring. It kind of died out for me. So, but I think pottery is the way for me. I'm actually sitting on top of my installation.
How many pieces is that?
But it's not all 6,000, because if it were, my whole room would be filled up. So I mean, I did a post and I did a little virtual thing, whatever you want to call it. But I would not be able to walk around and record everything and take pictures if it were every single piece. So.
Well, I want to touch on two things. The first is your extraordinary energy. You have this ability, and Hannah and I talked about this, to just knock things out. And that's not, I don't think that's typical, but please tell me if it is. Where does that come from? How are you able to produce so many pieces in such a short amount of time?
I think I have some sort of condition, and I don't know, the best word that I found that could relate to my creative drive is synesthesia. Yeah, synesthesia, which is when you perceive, or when you use one sense and perceive it for another. So like, anything I see, anything I hear, I visually relate it to a 3D form. So like, for instance, this installation is inspired by a song, which the song is inspired by the ocean. So I had to like recreate.
It's inspired by a song, which is inspired by the ocean. What is that song that it's inspired by?
It's a Bloom by Radiohead. It's in their King of Limbs album, like their first song. I listen to music a lot of different kinds of music, and Radiohead is just one of my favorite bands. You know, I know I just heard it one day. I mean, of course, I listen to many songs a lot of times, and like, I listened to Bloom a lot of times before. Something hit me. It took 6 months to do, which is a bummer because I spent all this time, and now the damn that bastard of the pandemic is here unexpectedly, so it sucks. But the show was postponed to 2021, but to me, that's like canceling, because I could have a whole nother body of work by then.
Probably at least 2 or 3 with the way you work.
At least I still have, a committed gallery. And Amanda from the Thea Foundation, she's practically the one who came to me and Hannah. I don't know how she found out about me, but when we agreed, or the day of, we met at someone else's gallery opening, and I think that's where she really asked us, and I really had to think about it.
What was some of your hesitation?
Me and Hannah actually tried to collaborate before, but it kind of fell through because I guess I was too busy doing, it was just a bad time. I was too busy doing other things. The reason why that collaboration wanted to happen is because I did a gallery show in 2018 with the same installation, but it was much smaller. And if my memory is correct, Hannah was inspired by these tubes, and she just wanted to macrame through them. Yeah, that's it. But and I told her, yeah, I can make you a few, and I didn't.
No.
You know, like when I have an idea, like I have to do it, and I can't do anything else. So,
Mhm.
and it's just another condition that I have.
Well, with the cancellation, and I know you said it's a postponement, but it does feel like a cancellation. What are you going to be doing with these pieces? Are you going to sell them off? Are you going to try to hold on to them? What's going to happen with everything that you created?
I'm holding on to the installation, definitely. There's a few instances where people ask me to, like, you know, use them for a photo shoot or whatever, and I let them do that. But the other pieces, so the plan was, me and Hannah agreed on the first day, like for the first 3 months, because we had about 6 months to do everything, that the first 3 months, let's just work on our own stuff. Let's get going, because this is a once in a lifetime chance for us to be at the Thea Foundation. So we agreed to just do our own thing, and then the second half, the time that we had, would be for the collaboration and for just more work. And that was semi a good idea. My timing was off a little bit. I kind of made the pieces for her a little bit late.
Sorry. God, that dog's going wild for doorbell ringing. Is the Arkansas Art Center shut down? Can you make pieces at the moment or no?
They're trying to work something out pretty soon to where maybe we can get. I planned a little bit ahead, and I've got plenty of clay with me right now, so I'm able to work.
Yeah.
I'm able to do commission work. It's just I have plenty of clay till maybe last me a month.
Okay. Well, how can people support you right now? You said you can do some commissions. Are you open for commissions, or are you waiting?
I am open, but I'm just one person. Even though I do make a lot of work, I make it very quickly and efficiently as I here around the street. I am just one person, so I can't like take everything in at once. And then, of course, everyone else is doing online sales.
Mhm.
That pretty much given. And that's pretty much it. Me and like with the collaboration pieces, now that we have time now, we're gonna plan on selling them online, working with Thea, working with Amanda, getting something going. I do this full time, and I do it almost all the time, every day, many hours a day for the past 6 years. And I make work in batches. So like I would make 10 mugs, I would make 10 plates, bowls, blah, blah, blah. And that kind of day, that kind of, wheel throwing day takes a full day. And then of course the drying process, the kiln, firing, the glazing, all that stuff. The process takes about 2 weeks to do. So that's why I have to make so many, because I have to make up for that, the time, the wait time for everything to dry, the firing time, the glazing time. And we fire it twice. The first firing is bisque, and then the second firing is glaze firing. And so it does take a long time. That's why I have to make how I do. And people don't get that, but that's a given. Like, it's not their profession, they don't know, and I don't count it against them. I mean, but that's why I make in numbers.
And you said you've been doing this full time for a long time now, for several years. How do you make your money from it? Do you do shows? Do you do commissions online
I do
sales?
shows, I do events, I have a few consignment stores. I'm at White Goat on Main Street, South Main Street, and then I'm at Nexus Coffee and Creative on Clinton Avenue, and I'm looking for a few others too. So,
And if people want to
and
add,
Bellevita.
oh, okay, yeah, Brandy McNair. And so if people want to reach out to you, if they want to sell your work, how can they find you?
Usually my Etsy, but it's down right now. I'm about to add new items. Yay. But Etsy, and I can also take sales from like Instagram and Facebook too. So.
Oh, perfect. And how can people support you right now?
Really, I think it's all about the online sales, just getting the income in. Even though I am kind of at a standstill, doesn't mean that I still can't make. Like I always have the ability to make whenever and wherever I want, as long as I have the clay with me.
And Chris, I think that was all of my questions. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. And so Instagram, Rolling Hills Pottery, Facebook, Rolling Hills Pottery. Your Etsy is down at the moment, but once you do get it up, just shoot me the link and I can add it in. Any other places?
I think that covers it.
Okay. This has been Sustaining Craft with your host, Elizabeth Silverstein. Music has been provided by Jim Chiago of 7 Second Chance. Find him on iTunes and Spotify. Thank you to my special guest today, Chris Swasta of Rolling Hills Pottery. Chris, before we sign off completely, what do you hope for on the other side of all this, everything that's happening at the moment?
Well, I hope to not die of boredom. Honesty, just keep my head up, keep making. That's all I can really do right now. So, yeah.